This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
Brings me to Jakobi Meyers, all the trade talk. Obviously, Jakobi has requested a trade from Vegas. Vegas said, yeah, nice try. I don't know if Meyers has gone back to Vegas and said, no, seriously, trade me, fellas. But just the idea of Jakobi Meyers to the Patriots, Greg, not asking you if you think it'll get done, but would you be in or out on Jakobi Meyers?
So I love Jakobi Meyers. Yeah, I think he's a perfect fit. He slides right into what the Patriots do. He's been with McDaniels in New England and also with Vegas, and he's been very productive. I was big on trying to trade for Jakobi Meyers like early in the offseason, free agency, before the draft, all that stuff. Now, not really. I mean, the reason he wants to be traded is he wants to get paid more. And, that's great for him. All of a sudden, I mean, if he say the Patriots did do the deal and they would have to give him a contract, I would say probably $15 million a year over like 3 years, probably, really a 2-year deal at 30 or something like that. All of a sudden he becomes your number 2 paid receiver on the team. But, who's he going to play over? I just think that the Patriots have way too many guys already that operate in the middle of the field that are possession type receivers. And I don't want to take snaps away from Stephon Diggs, Demario Douglas, Booty's earned snaps, Kyle Williams. I want to see more out of him. Efton Chisholm, you have him. And I would rather see him than at his cost than Jakobi Meyers. So as much as I love Jakobi and I know he'd be productive here, I just think it's too late. He would be too redundant here.
I think that's a very, very fair point. And I get that debate, that you got guys on this roster already and it's too redundant and everything you just said. I would still be in on him because I don't know what you have. I know you have better than you had last year, but I don't know if Efton Chisholm is going to be a true impact guy in the regular season. He could be. I hope so. Pop Douglas, I'm still kind of concerned about his frame and how much you're going to use him. And he's not going to be out there an awful lot if you're running the football a ton because he's just not that kind of guy. Kyle Williams, I have high hopes for Kyle Williams, but I don't think letting him slowly develop and progress through the season is the worst idea. Diggs, I think, is going to be a 1-year guy here. I think Diggs, I think he's gone after this season. So if you give Meyers and it's funny you said 2 years for $30 million because I talked about this in a lockdown episode earlier this week, and that's exactly where I landed, which was like 2 years, $30 million for Jakobi. If you give him that, then he's an immediate upgrade in the room. He's another adult in the room who can help the younger guys. He does have inside-outside versatility. He played, really good football for Vegas. I mean, he's not the same guy he was in New England. He's not. I think he's better than he was with the Patriots. 87 catches last year, 1,000+ yards. He did not have a single drop. And also, let's not forget, Diggs is coming off an ACL. And I'm optimistic about Diggs making an impact, but I mean, there is a scenario here where you look at it and say, well, Kyle Williams just ain't ready yet. Efton Chisholm was a nice story, but he might need another year to truly develop himself. You're not playing Pop a ton as much as you thought you would because you're going to try to run the football and you don't want him on the field for that. Diggs, in his 30s, he might be closer to hole 18 than we might have thought. So I don't think you're fully set at receiver. So if you tell me you can upgrade that room, cool. Like Kayshon Boutte had a good preseason. Does that mean he's going to catch 60 balls this year? So I just think there's still a lot of questions. So I would be open to it. I would not overpay though. I wouldn't overpay. I think like a 3rd, 4th round pick would make sense. I'm not going crazy for Jakobi Meyers. All right, let's
a couple things on that, Nick, real quick. First of all, I'm not dealing a 3rd round pick for Jakobi Meyers. I'm not, like, maybe a 5th. I mean, considering what people were getting traded for, so that's one thing. The second thing I would say is, remember, we've talked about this before, that I don't think the Patriots have a lot of petty cash left this year,
Yeah.
considering they've spent like $323 million in cash on this year's roster. And similar to that discussion, and we've had it before, I think where the Patriots are right now in terms of their roster, I'm more interested in seeing what they have, and then plugging the holes that I need to later. And while I like Jakobi Meyers, like, for example, even if you wanted to add a wide receiver, let's say they get to the trade deadline and the Patriots are, they're in it. They're 500, but you could tell maybe there was an injury. Maybe Pop Douglas is down. Maybe you go for Jakobi Meyers down the line. Who knows if the Raiders would make him available, but you never know who's going to be available down the line. They could be out of it. You might get a guy, in the last year of his contract that a team is just like, oh, we suck and we need to rebuild and we're not going to pay him or whatever. And you could go and get, a borderline like 1 or 2, where I see Jakobi Meyers more like a 3. I just don't think that Jakobi Meyers on this team right now moves the needle that much. Now that could change depending on injuries later around the trade deadline, but I'm more interested in seeing what they have. And there could be bigger holes that you're going to need to fill on this team. Like, for example, if Robert Spillane goes down and you can't stop the run, and now what the hell are we going to do? And then you're going to be like, well, we wasted, we already traded a draft pick. We paid Jakobi Meyers money. Like, we don't have another out. And so I just think where the team is right now, I want to let it play out, and then we'll see what's what around the trade deadline.
I think there are ways to move money. I think the Patriots could move money around and play some games. You would really have to just deal with 1 or 2 contracts. You could mess around with it to create that if you needed to create it. I don't think that's, going up, climbing up Mount Everest with a refrigerator on your back. I don't think it would be that much of a big deal there. I would also say, this year to me, like, sun rises, sun sets on Drake May's development. And so I get the idea of, let's see how these receivers go. But I also think of it in my head, again, what if these guys are not ready? What if Chisholm and Williams aren't ready for prime time? Matt Collins is a nice 4. By the way, I think Myers is at least a 2. I think to call him a 3 is underrating him severely.
At least a 2? You mean he's possible 1?
On some teams, I think he's better than some 1s in the league right now. I think he'd be the 1 on Buffalo.
Yeah, but if you want to be a real team, what is Jakobi Meyers?
A 2. I wouldn't call him a 3. I think he's a legitimate 2 right now. I think he's a top 25ish to 35, somewhere in that range receiver in the league. I think he's right around that mark. But to get back to my point, this season's about Drake May. And so this is what's fascinating, Greg. You and I have talked about this, where I think you mentioned it last week, and it was a great point by you. If you're Vrabel, like, how much are you trying to develop and look towards the future? How much are you trying to win right now? Because you got a lot of vets on this team, and some of the comments Vrabel has made about where he wants to be as an organization. And meanwhile, you've got a sophomore quarterback that the clock is going to start ticking by the middle of this year, because you got to make a decision by the end of year 3 with him. And so, I mean, if you go into this season and by week 6 or 7, you say, oh shit, we need another receiver, and you can't get one, you're letting Drake May hang out to dry a little bit. So that would be my concern, is you do get to 6 or 7 weeks, you give these guys a chance, but instead of going out and getting the known entity, you gave them a shot to show up. If they don't show up, what's that mean for Drake May for the next 10 weeks? That would be that, not even mentioning the offensive line. That would be my concern. And so I'd rather have the bird in the hand. And but I think it's a great debate, because I also see your side of it. I absolutely do.